Gopisetti. Manikanta. What was the last class? Manikanta.
Sir,
What was the last class of physiology?
functional anatomy of respiratory, sir.
Tell me what you learned from that. Okay, question for all. Question for all. You tell me how we are respiring. How we are respiring. My statements are audible. Am I audible? Good.
Yes, sir.
Good. So my statements are, since we are expanding chest so that we are respiring, or since we are taking air inside so that we are expanding chest. Which statement is correct? Since you are expanding chest, air is entering inside.
Expanding chest, sir. So air is entering.
So since we are expanding chest, the air is entering inside.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why? Why it has to go inside?
Pressure difference.
Pressure difference. Good. How it is changing? How the pressure difference is changing?
It's becoming more negative.
How come?
Volume of thoracic cavity. Volume is increasing. Thoracic volume is increasing. So pressure
Pressure drops there. Good. What law it is? Based on which law? Some gaseous law?
Boils law.
Boyle's law. Good. So at constant body temperature, the pressure is inversely proportional to its
Volume.
volume. Good. So that's the general this thing we have learned from the studies class. So today, how this expansion of the chest, how that will cause the inspiration, and how that dropping of the thoracic cage causes the expiration, all these things we can see. I want to get some roll number 7. 7 is absent. Okay, roll number 28. It is absent. 63. Absent. 144.
Present, sir.
Roll number 144.
Present, sir.
Name?
Yamini, sir.
Yamini. Tell me, what was this thing we discussed just now? What was the point we just discussed? Yamini?
Pressure and volume difference.
Okay, good.
Sir, breathe.
Okay, fine. So the general concept, my voice is clear?
Yes, sir.
So the general concept here is how this, what are the exact mechanics of lungs, how this expansion and the recoiling of the chest helps us to make inspire and to make expire. So those are the things we are going to discuss today. So mechanics of breathing is a study of the physics of the lungs. So where not only the lungs and it's just air. Roll number 103. Mute yourself. Roll number 103. for some time. Wait for some time. Wait for some time, please.
Sir, 28 present, sir.
Wait, please. Okay. Fine. It is not happening. Hello? Sorry for the gap. So here the physics of the lungs, airways and the chest wall that exactly deals with how exactly the body moves air inside and outside of the lungs, and that produces the change in the lung volume. So here mainly the two properties we are studying. First one is when air does not flow into the lungs, that is called as static lung properties, and when air is entering in and out of the lungs, that is called dynamic lung properties. So one is properties of the lungs, static lung, when there is no air flow, and when air flow in and out of the lung, then that properties of the lung, that is called dynamic lung properties. So that interactions of these lungs, diaphragm, chest, all these things occurs during breathing and breath holding time. That mainly includes three physiological functions. The first is the ability to add air to and to remove air from the inside of the lungs. That is the compliance of the lung. The second one is to describe the mechanism for overcoming the surface tension that exists between the air and the fluid containing alveoli. The last one that explains the different lung volumes and capacities that clinically uses to measure the pulmonary functions. So what are the chief respiratory muscles, you know? What is the chief inspiratory muscle?
Intercostal muscles.
Which is the main one for the inspiration?
External.
Intercostal
Diaphragm and intercostal muscles. So here, based on the contraction and relaxation of these muscles, if someone asks what is the chief inspiratory muscle, that is diaphragm, right? Along with the diaphragm, the intercostals also will help. So we'll see how exactly they are helping. So the lungs can be expanded either by downward and upward movement of the diaphragm to increase the rostrocaudal, that means this vertical or rostrocaudal length of the chest, and by elevation and depression of the ribs, so that anteroposterior diameter of the chest cavity will increase. So by increasing or decreasing this, both the rostrocaudal, that means top to bottom, that is rostrocaudal, or anteroposterior, sternum to back, anteroposterior diameter, in both transverse and vertical diameters we are increasing, so that all around the thoracic volume is increasing. How? Let us see. So in this inspiration, if you see, so where in this diaphragm, this is the diaphragm, right? Which nerve is supplying to the diaphragm?
Phrenic nerve. Phrenic nerve.
Phrenic nerve. Good. So this diaphragm, when it contracts, both right and left domes of the diaphragm, supplied by the right and left phrenic nerves. So when it contracts diaphragm, so this will lose its dome shape, so it gets flattened, so that from this point, from rostrocaudal, from this upper point to the lower point, this length of the thorax will increase. So that will increase during while you are inspiring, because of the diaphragm gets contracting, is coming down, so that the length of the thorax rostrocaudally or vertically will increase. Not only by the diaphragm, another way, the costal muscles, intercostal muscles, especially for the expiration, external intercostal muscles. External intercostal muscles and the diaphragm, these are the chief inspiratory muscles. And these are the primary inspiratory muscles. These are the primary inspiratory muscles which are helpful for the expanding chest by increasing the volume of thorax. How? Let us see. So this diaphragm and external intercostal muscles will pulls the ribs in upward and outward direction. So it will increase anteroposteriorly also. Whereas if you see, in addition to this diaphragm and external intercostal muscles, there are some additional muscles also there to support the inspiration. That means in normal tidal inspiration, how much air you can take per breath?
500
A small 500 ml. That is called tidal inspiration or tidal volume of your breathing. 500 ml. So for that, there is only the involvement of only diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles will help. If you are making forceful inspiration, then there is a requirement of additional muscles, which are nothing but the abdominal, sternocleidomastoid muscles and scalenus muscles that elevates the sternum. That means that neck muscles and back muscles also will support for the forceful inspiration. So that will raise or increase the thoracic cage further. So unless otherwise during normal tidal inspiration, only that external intercostals and the diaphragm will help. If it is the more inspiration, then the secondary inspiratory muscles or accessory inspiratory muscles will involve. Those are sternocleidomastoid muscle, scalenus muscle, and this pectoralis minor. So all these muscles or back muscles, these muscles will involve the secondary way. So that's why they are called accessory inspiration muscles, inspiratory muscles. So in this way, if you see, the dome shape of the diaphragm will come flattened, and this ribs also will increase anteroposteriorly. So the transverse shape here. So this transverse diameter increases, and also vertically also posterodal and transverse, both directions diaphragm is increasing. You could able to see the change in this. So this is the normal thorax before inspiration. So once it is inspiration, from this point to this point it is increased, right? At least 1 to 2 centimeters, and from this to this it is increasing. This to this it is increasing, right? Coming to the expiration. So for expiration also, is there requirement of any muscles? Guys?
Internal intercostal muscles.
Internal intercostal muscles. Any other muscles?
External abdominal muscles.
Simply abdominal muscles. Abdominal interni, abdominal externi, abdominal oblique, whatever. So that's simply abdominal muscles. But the point to understand here is, expiration is a completely a passive process. Inspiration is a completely a passive process. So whatever you have contracted here in this inspiration, so that because of that the chest has expanded, but then while that during expiration it will recoil, the thorax will recoil passively. So expiration, normal expiration, that means exhaling of the air is a passive process which don't require any special muscles unless you are making forceful expiration. That time these abdominal muscles and thus internal intercostal muscles will help to exhale more and more. Otherwise, for the normal expiration, whatever you are doing inspiration, that inspiratory muscles that increases the chest. The normal recoiling force of that muscles, normal recoiling force of the thoracic cage will exhale the normal air. If you want to more exhale more air, more and more air, then you need to contract more accessory muscles or expiratory muscles. They are abdominal muscles and internal intercostal muscles, right? So the inspiratory muscles relax, the rib cage drops, and the thoracic volume decreases. This is what happens in the expiration. Otherwise, there is no no proper usage of these muscles in the normal, quiet, tidal expiration. Whatever you have done in the inspiration, that will be relaxed, and the rib cage drops, and the thoracic volume will be decreased. We'll see how this contraction of these muscles increases the thoracic volume in a proper way. So this is another pictorial diagram which shows you how the external intercostal muscles and internal intercostal muscles arranged between the costals, between the ribs. So this is the external intercostal muscle. This is the external intercostal muscle which is arranged. If you see this external intercostal muscles which are contracting, the ribs are pulled, they are arranged upward and forward direction. Upward and forward direction. Upward and forward direction, right? So, and similarly the other way, this internal intercostal muscles are arranged in the downward and backward move, right? Downward and backward move. See, this is the one analogy with which the scientist explained how this external and intercostal muscles and diaphragm increases the rib cage or the thoracic cage. If you see this one which is called as one analogy, and this one is another analogy. So this explains how exactly the vertical, this is called vertical, how it is increasing, and as well as transverse, how it is exactly increasing. See, this is the sternum there on the backside with the vertebral cord. They have compared or analyzed, compared with the pump handle movement. So this pump handle is while you are rising. So during inspiration, what happens? So this straightened sternum is raised in upward direction. So there is a increase in this much volume of the thoracic cage. This much volume of the thoracic cage here. And here what happened? And another way also, the ribs you are taking, the ribs also parallelly, both the sides, the ribs will elevate. So that will increase the transverse. Entire transverse. So this is the length here and this is the length here. The diameter of the thoracic cage before inspiration and after inspiration. So this movement is explained both pump handle movement. This is the pump handle movement, and this is called the bucket handle movement. So bucket handle, if you lift here, so this much distance it is elevating. This much distance it is increasing. Are you with me? So that expansion of chest during inspiration is explained mainly with the help of, you see, there is a one thing called pump handle movement, and another one is called the bucket handle movement. Pump handle movement and the bucket handle movement. Good. So this is another diagram which explains how exactly the alveoli or inside this thing. So if you see this dotted lines is the normal position, and after inspiration this is the maximal position it attains. Once air is entering inside, Air is entering inside. So due to the pressure difference, you are expanding this chest wall, right? So that expansion of the chest, then the alveolar pressure becomes more than the atmospheric pressure, right? Here, alveolar pressure is lesser than the atmospheric pressure. Here, the alveolar pressure greater than the atmospheric pressure. Because of this pressure change, by increasing your alveoli, by increasing your chest wall, so that increases your flow of air. So that flow is also directly proportional to the pressure difference between the alveoli and atmosphere, and is also inversely proportional to the airway resistance. But what is the physiological difference of significance of this expiratory muscles? During forced inspiration only, these accessory muscles are used to increase the more lung volume rather than to overcome the resistance. Whereas during forced expiration, these accessory muscles are used mainly to overcome the resistance of the air. So in inspiration, the accessory muscles are used to increase the lung volume. Whereas in case of expiration, so to not for this increasing lung volume, they are used mainly to overcome the resistance of the airflow. So during quiet expiration, which is actually passive, exception to this, the individual suffering from the lung disease like bronchial asthma, in which airway resistance is high. So that's why that accessory expiratory muscles will be useful, and they have to be trained in the endurance trainings and the sport. They have to be trained to strengthen the abdominal and chest muscles. And you see, there are some 2-3 important pressures are there, which we explain in the later class. But for time being, I'm telling. So there are some pressures are there, which are called intrapleural pressure, transmural pressure, and alveolar pressures. So what are their pressures? What exactly inside lung, what exactly inside alveoli, what is the pressure difference? If there is a pressure difference between the lung and the outside lung, then what is the difference called? These are the pressures which we'll discuss in the later class, but for this pictorial diagram you try to understand. So this is the chest wall, right? And this is the alveoli. So the pressure within the alveoli, which is called as the pressure within the alveoli, which is called as
Intra-alveolar pressure.
Intra-alveolar pressure, or simply alveolar pressure, right? Alveolar pressure simply. So this alveolar pressure and this chest wall, if you see, so that chest wall and this lungs, they are having some space. What is this space called? Which is filled with some fluid also.
Pleural cavity.
Pleural cavity. So that pleural cavity is having some space. So that pressure within this space is called
Transmural pressure. Pleural pressure.
Pleural pressure. Simple. So this is pleural pressure. So the difference between this pressure and the alveolar pressure, what is this called then?
Transmural pressure.
That is transmural pressure. These are the main things you need to understand. So once the pressure is more here or less here, then only the volume will go in and out of it. So pressure is more here and the pressure is less here, then only the air will go, or air flow enters into inside from the high pressure to low pressure. That's what we need to understand, main concept. And what are the various pressures within the alveoli? So if you are keep on extending this chest wall, what happens? Only chest wall only will expand, or alveoli also will expand? I am expanding this chest wall toward this direction laterally. So only the chest wall will expand, or along with the chest wall, alveoli also will expand?
Only chest wall.
Or not?
Alveoli also expand.
Alveoli also will expand. So along with these two, they are in contact. So once you are expanding chest wall, alveoli also will expand. Once it is compressing, alveoli also will be compressed. So that expansion and recoiling of this mainly matters. And another point. So this muscles, this is the one which is while contracting, this will go in this direction. And this is the alveoli which all time try to collapse. So this will try to collapse inside because of the another forces which we come to know later. So the alveoli we try to collapse all time because of some property of surfactant that can be maintained. Otherwise, if there is no surfactant, the alveoli all time will collapse. That we'll understand later. But time being, you understand, alveoli has the property of all time it recoils inside, right? And chest wall, once we are contracting the muscles, it will expand. So what exactly here happening? So this chest wall is going in this direction, and this alveoli will try to go in this direction. Clear? So there are the two forces which are acting in an equal proportion but in an opposite direction. There are both forces. One is expansion force, one is recoiling force. Right? So these two forces are acting, but both the forces are equal but in opposite direction. One is chest wall trying to expand, and the alveoli trying to recoil. This nature of the lungs makes or creates some pressure within this pleural space. What is that pressure within this space, pleural space, which is said? What is that pressure called?
Pleural pressure.
Intrapleural pressure, right? Or pleural pressure simply. So the pressure within the pleural space, so that is called intrapleural pressure, like intraalveolar pressure, like that. So this intrapleural pressure becomes negative, more negative, more negative. So that pressure keep on becomes more negative at what condition?
Post-inspiration.
Are my markings are visible to you? Yeah. Now tell me. So when you can expect this intrapleural pressure becomes more and more negative?
Forced
inspiration. Then my next question. Will this intrapleural pressure becomes positive in expiration?
No, sir.
Good. So that point you need to understand that the normal lungs with the normal physiology, whatever chest wall and this lungs, both are having all time they are acting in opposite directions with equal force. That is why there is a creation of some negative intrapleural pressure. Negative with respect to the atmospheric pressure. That means whatever, for suppose outside 1 atmosphere is there, so this they create the -1. For suppose outside there is a 760 atmospheres are there, inside they will make 759 atmospheric pressure, so that from high pressure to the low pressure air will enter. Clear? So that is the negativity. That intrapleural pressure negative means because of these equal and opposite forces that they creates one negative pressure, but that becomes more and more once you are inspiring, forceful inspiration. But for during expiration, that comes to the initial level of negativity only, but it will never become positive in a normal tidal expiration. But it becomes positive when the intrapleural pressure becomes positive if we are deeply expiring, forcefully you are expiring, exhaling, then that may become positive. That means that is greater than 1 or 2 atmospheres than the atmospheric pressure, which requires your accessory expiratory muscles. So how this intrapleural pressure is created, why it is negative, that will be explained in later class also, but time being you try to understand. So the pleural space is relative vacuum, the vacuum space, and the lungs have the tendency to collapse and the chest wall has the tendency to expand. That is what we have learned. The lungs have the tendency to collapse and the chest wall has a tendency to expand. So these two forces, the elastic recoil effects of the lungs and the chest wall, are exerted equally but in opposite directions. So lungs recoil inwardly and the chest wall recoils outwardly. So these equal and opposing forces causes the intrapleural pressure to be negative. That means less than the atmospheric pressure. Right. So this pleural pressure is negative during quiet breathing, more and more negative during deep inspiration, but it remains normal in during expiration. It becomes or may become positive in which condition? Forced expiration. Yes. So what is the clinical significance of this intrapleural pressure? Physiological significance, sorry. So it facilitates mainly the inspiration, because unless otherwise there is no negative pressure inside, the air may not be enter inside, because of there is no creation of pressure difference, means air may not flow inside. So this inside intrapleural pressure becomes decreased and negative, then only there will be the creation of the pressure gradients, then the air will enter inside. So this expansion of thoracic cage as occurs during inspiration causes the intrapleural pressure to fall. That decrease in intrapleural pressure helps the lungs to expand, which in turn results in flow of air into the lungs. That fall in intrapleural pressure facilitates inspiration. So this intrapleural pressure mainly facilitates the inspiration. That you need to understand. And also not only that, it maintains the shape and contour of this chest shape and sides, right? And it maintains the normal shape of the chest wall and lungs. That is what it is mentioned. So this also which we have discussed. So what is this called? They are mentioned here. The pressure inside the trachea, that means airway pressure. What is this pressure called? What is this pressure? Tell me, what is this pressure? This pressure is airway pressures. Airways, these are called airways. And this pressure is, what is this pressure? Intrapleural pressure. So the difference between these two, airway pressure and intrapleural pressure, that is called trans-airway pressure. Right? Trans-airway pressure. And if you see the another one which we already discussed, transpulmonary pressure. How will you define transpulmonary pressure? So mainly the difference between the alveolar pressure and the intrapleural pressure, which is called as transpulmonary pressure. This can be labeled as PL or also PTP. Transpulmonary pressure. P we can write like this, and TP. This is transpulmonary pressure, right? Good. So this is another diagram where you can see this is the difference between the alveolar and intrapleural pressure. Intrapleural pressure, which is how much it will be? -4 mm of Hg during inspiration. That may be it becomes more negative, means it may go to up to -4 to -6 millimeters of mercury in the inspiration, and during expiration it becomes -2.5. That indicates what? During expiration and inspiration, both the intrapleural pressure becomes or remains negative only. Clear? So mm of Hg. So coming to this, I want highlighter. So there is a what and all the various sequence of events during inspiration. Slides are visible, na? Sequence of events during inspiration. So first what happens exactly? We are expanding chest by contracting the inspiratory muscles. Then expansion of the thoracic cage occurs because of the contraction of your cheek inspiratory muscles. Then what happens? Intrapleural pressure becomes, tell me, or negative. So that increased intrapleural pressure, that more negative intrapleural pressure increases the transpulmonary pressure. What is transpulmonary pressure?
Difference between alveolar pressure and intrapleural pressure.
Intrapleural pressure. Good. So that difference makes the flow inside, that inflation of the lungs, that causes inflation of the lungs. Right? So then that decrease in alveolar pressure, which becomes subatmospheric, right? Air flow enters into the airways and the lungs. Inflation of the lungs, that decreases in alveolar pressure. By how come this here alveolar pressure is decreasing? In this point, how the alveolar pressure is decreasing?
Recoiling of the alveolar.
Not recoiling, think. They are expanding chest. So they are inflating lungs. That means along the chest wall, alveolar valve also being pulled up. So the alveolar volume will increase or decrease? Increase. So by increasing alveolar volume, by expanding chest, there is a drop in the pressure. So that pressure difference between the external atmosphere and alveolar pressure, then air flow enters inside the alveoli. And it extends up to maximum capacity of the chest expansion. Then it starts stopping contraction of inspiratory muscles at the end of the inspiration. So this is the process or various sequence of events which occurs during your daily normal tidal inspiration, which you may not realize unless otherwise you read it. They are the sequence of events which are occurring. We simply know the pressure difference. We simply know we are expanding chest, that's why air is entering. But there are some physiology behind that which may help you in the later classes also, what exactly the events occurring. So now coming to the events which are occurring in the expiration. So relaxation of inspiratory muscles only mainly helpful, which are causing the dropping of the rib cage. So that becomes less negative of intrapleural pressure. So the decrease in transpulmonary pressure. So that mainly causes the recoiling of the lungs. That means deflation of the lungs. So decrease in alveolar volume, that increases the alveolar pressure. So from this high pressure, the air will go outside. So air is pushed out of the lung and that air flow continues until the alveolar pressure equals the atmospheric pressure. Clear, guys? Now, then coming to this, what is this? Could someone tell me?
Pronation, sir.
Sleeping in pronation. Good. Sleeping. Pronation. Why I have shown you here this pronation. Nowadays, you might have seen there are the patients, COVID patients, they are recommending this proning position, which more or less that will help their breathing capacity. Breathing, not only we need to increase not only the ventilation. If you are simply keeping oxygen, that will not serve the purpose. Right? Or if you are keep on medicine, that will not serve the purpose. That whatever air you are taking, right, that has to see. In this, you see properly, this is the supine position. Where what happens exactly? See this alveoli and see this alveoli. What happens? What is the difference between these two? This is the ventral alveoli, that means chest upward direction, and the back side, this is the dorsal alveoli. What is the difference between these two? Collapsed. Good. That means why it is collapsed?
Due to more weight.
Good. There is a more weight because of the heart is there, right? This heart is pressing lungs. The heart is pressing lungs. The mediastinum, the heart that presses the lung, or this whatever this content which is present above that will keep on presses the posterior part of the lungs. The anterior aspect or the anterior contents which are all time will keep on pressing this posterior component of the lung. So this alveoli become less in size, being compressed and being compressed, so that there is a less ventilation or less perfusion. Isn't it? So if you pronate them, so what happened? This alveoli already in the extended way, right? And whatever collapsed one, that lost its collapse because the weight is coming in this direction now. The heart and that mediastinum, that gravitational effect of this heart and mediastinum will go in this direction. So this alveoli will not collapse further, right? And that will increase its capacity. See another diagram. So in this diagram also, if you see, so this PTP means transpulmonary pressure. Transpulmonary pressure and the blood flow. Blood flow, if you see, the blood flow here in this it is less, and here blood flow is more. But alveoli is compressed here, but here if you come to this thing, this condition, prone position, here blood flow is more, alveoli is also not compressed. Normally, on the posterior aspect of the lungs, blood flow will be more, perfusion is more. Perfusion means blood flow only. So that time, if you are proning the patient, not only you are making alveoli preventing from the collapse, you are getting more aerated, more ventilated, more perfusion also. That ratio is called as the ventilation perfusion ratio, VQ ratio. People call VQ ratio. Good. So by pronation, we are making them more ventilated than the supine position. So see this picture. So this in the supine position, this blue color dots all aeration and red color dots are all compressed. Right. In the prone position, that compression is less. And more aerated. Clear? See this heart, the supine position, this heart, entire thing, this compresses this much lung part, right? And if you are making the prone position, this heart comes in directly to this chest towards the bedside, and there is a more aeration in the lungs, right? So already there is some damage. If you are further making by putting this weight and all, that will reduce its ventilation capacity. That is why most of the doctors, they are recommending normal also, and in hospitalization also, we are recommending the prone position. Clear? So that the entire this ventilation becomes more homogeneous and becomes good. So these are the various positions they are recommending in the hospital level or at the home level also. So that see, half an hour to 2 hours we can sleep in the prone position, then left recumbent and right recumbent positions for half an hour, then upright sitting position, again prone position, like that. Coming to the questionnaires, just I will call for some roll number 41. Roll number 41.
Yes, sir.
Who is this? Harshita.
Yes, sir.
Harshita, tell me, read the question.
Intraocular kind of inspiration.
Tell me the answer. What is the intrapleural pressure at the end of the inspiration? 0, more negative, or positive, or less negative?
Is it less negative?
Less negative. Okay. Explain. Why not it is more negative? Akshita. Roll number 86. See, here what we need to understand, the question they have asked, this entrance question, not the man-made question, right? So this or myself. So intrapleural pressure at the end of the inspiration they are asking. So if you are starting stage of the inspiration, the intrapleural pressure is already negative, right? You are making less negative means you are going the opposite direction. Is a negative. You are going less negative side or more negative side. While you are going towards inspiration. People, anyone can answer.
More negative.
Good. So you have to select the option 2. This is the more negative. That will become more and more negative. That relate to the question also. What happens to the intrapleural pressure in the forced inspiration, forceful inspiration? That time also it is more negative. But here, what exactly they are at the end of inspiration they are asked. So that end of inspiration means at the end of inspiration it becomes more negative. Then that keeps on decreasing while I am entering into the expiration. We'll see again. Next question. What happens to the intrapleural pressure? That intrapleural pressure is negative because why it is negative? There are 4 options. Roll number 76. Roll number 76. Shashidhar Reddy. Roll number 66. Sai Asrita. Absent. Both are absent. Okay, roll number 150. Pavan Praneeth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me the answer for this. Why it is negative? Intrapleural pressure. Question is visible? Praneeth?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me what could be the reason out of all these options? Yeah,
Third
Deepika,
option,
good.
sir.
Third, alveolar pressure is negative, so that intrapleural pressure is also negative. Okay. Could you explain? Roll number 57. Ram Srija. 38. Dinesh. All these are absent. 57. Ram Srija. Tell me. What could be the option? Right option for this? Hello?
Third option. Alveolar pressure is negative.
First option, second option, third option, fourth option. What would be the answer? Remember, absent. He is also absent. Ali?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you repeat the first question?
Yeah, please. I'm going back. So, intrapleural pressure at the end of inspiration.
The inspiration, it will lead into expiration, no, sir. So then the negativity
Right.
should decrease in the expiration.
No, once it is reaches its maximum at the end of the inspiration. So what happens to the intrapleural pressure there? If we are taking the heart, okay, what is the volume of the blood in the end diastolic volume? Take the chamber, ventricular chamber, the blood is filling into that. So we are getting into the diastole, and at the end of the diastole, volume of the blood is more or less?
More, sir.
More. In another way, we are inspiring, so the alveolar volume will keep on increasing, volume of the alveoli keep on increasing. At the end of the inspiration, at the last stage of the inspiration, the volume of the alveoli is more or less?
More.
So then what happens to the pressure there?
Decreases.
Decreases. That decrease in pressure means there is a more negative intrapleural pressure.
Sir, thoracic pressure decreases kada sir. Interpleural pressure increase అవుతుంది కదా sir. అంటే less negative వైపు వెళ్తుంది కదా sir.
ఇప్పుడు what is thoracic pressure? You are increasing
alveolar ఉన్న ప్రెషర్ తగ్గుద్ది సార్, మోర్ నెగటివ్ వైపు వెళ్తుంది. బట్ ఇంట్రాప్లూరల్ ప్రెషర్ లెస్ నెగటివ్ వైపుకి వెళ్తుంది కదా సార్.
ఎందుకు వెళ్తుంది? నీకు ఎప్పుడైతే మీరు చెస్ట్ వాల్ ఇంక్రీజ్ చేస్తున్నారో, చెస్ట్ వాల్ తో పాటు కూడా లంగ్ వాల్ కూడా ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతుందా? సో ప్లూరల్ స్పేస్ అనేది తగ్గుతుందా పెరుగుతుందా? డయాగ్రామ్ కి వెళ్దాం, మీ డౌట్ క్లియర్ చేద్దాం. మీరు ఇది లాగుతున్నారు, ఈ చెస్ట్ వాల్ అనేది ఇలా డ్రాగ్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఓకే, అలా డ్రాగ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఈ యొక్క స్పేస్ ఏమవుతుంది? ఇంట్రాప్లూరల్ స్పేస్
Increases.
ఆ ఇంక్రీజ్ అయినప్పుడు, స్పేస్ ఇంక్రీజ్ అయినప్పుడు ప్రెషర్ ఏమవ్వాలి మరి అప్పుడు అక్కడ? డిక్రీజ్ అవ్వడం అంటే ఏంటది? అక్కడ ఆ స్పేస్ పెంచుతున్నాం, మోర్ నెగిటివ్ అవుతుంది కదా. సరే, ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్ కొంచెం జాగ్రత్తగా పట్టుకోవాలి. క్లియర్ అయిందా?
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
గుడ్. So this question, so now you have to tell me why exactly the intrapleural pressure is negative. Who is making that negative? Just now we discussed. What would be the option here? First option is the right one. So chest wall and the lung recoils in equal and opposite directions to each other. Good. The last question. When this intrapleural pressure is positive, end of inspiration, end of expiration, or end of forced expiration, or beginning of the inspiration?
End of forced expiration.
Third is the right